Hi guys, I'm Gasha. Welcome to the channel and welcome as always to our coffee times to discuss books and horror. And today I'm here to let you know everything that I managed to read in the month of November.
It's coffee time.
So my November month was actually better than any other month of the year. I don't know how, but I managed to read a lot. I think it's partly because I was vlogging, so I was forcing myself to read, and also I was doing lives every week, which also helped a lot with reading. So it was a quite decent reading month and I ended up reading a lot of things. I think in total I read like around 10 books, but some of them were obviously like novellas or smaller ones, so not all of them were chunky, but I'm still really happy. Sadly, on the other hand, not all of them were great. There were some disappointments here, so I'm here to let you know everything that I thought about them. If you're new to the channel, we like to rate our books with coffee mugs, and I also start with the lowest to the highest, so we always end up on a positive note. Let's start with Frightmares by Eva V. Gibson. So this one I was really excited about because it is a book that takes place basically on a fright house. It is set on this house of horrors called Frightmares, where, you know, they dress up in costumes and set up scenes in order to get the visitors in and then scare them as they go through the rooms. And I was like, this is gonna be fantastic. And then one day somebody actually dies inside of this house of horror, so I was like, it's gonna be amazing. But sadly, it was just not it for me. I feel like part of it is because it's not exactly a horror story, it's more like a low-key murder mystery. So Dave, our main character, one day while he's working in Frightmares, makes a really gruesome discovery, which is a dead body. However, he leaves the room, he cannot take what he's seen, he comes back, and the body is gone. So now he doesn't know if he actually saw it, if he just imagined it, if the person is still alive, what happened, and he starts kind of like an investigation where everybody could be the culprit. Everybody that works there, the visitors, he just starts kind of like to try to figure out who did it. Unfortunately for me, there is a lot of effort put into some characters' relationships that were really forced. It didn't really feel organic to me, the way the characters like talk to each other and related to each other. And there's some kind of like thrown in love interest here and there that were a little bit awkward. And a lot of these moments, what they did is interrupt the tension or, you know, the fun part of the investigation. So that also was a minus for me. However, I did enjoy the setting and I did enjoy to see all the different rooms that they had and the themes for the rooms. I did love that aspect of the book. I was hoping that maybe towards the end or the ending would kind of redeem me, that it would pull me back into the book, but unfortunately that did not happen, so I kind of forced myself to finish this one. I think I would have maybe DNF'd it if I was not reading it for the Evilathon. So this one I would say, you know, if you're looking for a whodunit YA mystery, murder mystery, and you don't mind if there's not much horror in it, then this one might be for you. Now let's talk about another disappointment, which is the Moth Diaries by Rachel Klein. I was excited for this one because it is a vampire story and it is based on a girls' school, and also it is written all in diary entries, so I was like, this is gonna be perfect for me. I love everything about it. And this is another one that I was so close to DNFing because I just could not care less. And I think it's just me and the type of reader that I am. I don't think it's the book per se, but the pacing was really slow for me. Nothing was really actually getting me excited. And at some point, I was not really invested in our main character anymore. This is a dark paranormal tale about vampires in a boarding school, and our main character starts realizing that one of her classmates is acting a little bit weird. She doesn't know why, she doesn't seem to eat, and she's kind of telling all that story through her diary entries. And that was also one of my big problems with this book, the diary entries themselves, because I didn't feel like they felt real. It felt like you're writing a novel and you're trying to do diary entries, but they didn't feel realistic. They didn't feel like they were flowing as a proper diary entry. It just felt very calculated, and you could tell, you know, it was because they were forcing them. So I didn't really vibe with that. I really like the concept of the book and the setting and everything. I just feel like these diary entries and the things that they were explained There was also a lot of information, a lot of you know, fillers and things that didn't add up to the action or that didn't really push the narrative forward. So I feel like all of those things were getting me unexcited. They were kind of breaking the tension for me and breaking the interest for me, and that's why I just didn't end up loving it as much. And that's why I also almost, like this teeny tiny close, DNF the book, because I could not vibe with the character as much as I hoped. But maybe for other type of readers that really love a slow burner and love the concept, they might really enjoy this one. I feel like the pacing and the whole diary entries in this particular case were just not for me. Next we have You Love Me by Caroline Kepnes, and not too much I have to say about this one because if you read You or Hidden Bodies, the second book, you kind of already know what you're gonna get. It's a very, you know, straightforward another story of Joe on his regular tone with his regular delusions about love and life. In this one, Joe decides to move from the city to a really small town to kind of start over again, and of course he meets again the love of his life, as he does in every single book. He falls in love with this woman that works at a bookstore, and yeah, they basically start, you know, kind of dating sort of, but there's a lot of secrets that not only Joe is hiding, but she is hiding as well. I just love this book so much because they are just a fast-paced guilty read for me. Didn't have to wow me, but there's always some nice twists and turns to the story, and I just love Joe's voice in my head. I just love to hear him think and his delusions and how he justifies everything. It's just a lot of fun for me. So if you love the other ones, I feel like you will have a good time with this one. I did hear that we're getting another story in 2023, so we're gonna get a fourth book and I am gonna pick it up. Next we have A Halloween Party by Errol Stein. I finally managed to read this one almost on Halloween. So basically this is a very short book, so there's not too much I can tell you. It's just about a bunch of kids that have been invited to a Halloween party. A new girl in town that has just bought a house basically behind the Shadyside Cemetery on Fear Street is throwing a party, and she's inviting specific people from school. Why are these people specifically being chosen to attend the party? You'll have to find out. But as with any other Fear Street book, they are just fast-paced, fun, with pranks, with mysteries, with murders. That's what you can expect. So it's just a fun, quick read. Moving on to Daphne by Josh Malerman. That is actually a cool book that brings a twist to the local legend kind of theme, because it does spin the topic a little bit and it does bring something a little bit new to the table, and I feel like that was my favorite part about this book. So basically this book is about a small town, and the basketball team is having a sleepover before a big game, and they start to tell each other spooky stories. So one of the girls mentions the legend of Daphne. Is a girl that died in kind of weird circumstances, and it is said that if you say her name, if you think about her, she's gonna come for you. So of course, after the story is told, many of the girls from the team cannot stop thinking about Daphne. They start thinking about her, dreaming about her, and you follow several characters that cannot stop thinking about her, and they fear that Daphne is gonna come for them. I also love that there's a lot of things that were adapted to this specific book, because if the girls want to ask a question, kind of asking a question to a tarot card, instead of doing that, they do it by throwing the ball like to the basketball hoop and see if it's a yes or a no. Like things like that I really enjoyed, and I thought they were really smart. What I was not completely on board with was the ending. I feel like that is where I was a little bit disappointed, and it's not the first time that it's happened to me with a Josh Malerman book. It happened to me with Goblin as well. When we're going to the end, I felt a little bit of disappointment. So I had the same feeling with this one, which is weird because I really enjoy his books, but then when we come to the end, it's like they don't fully wrap it up for me as I expected. But I thought this was a really fun kind of urban legend tale, and one of the characters has anxiety, and I really like the way that it is being explored and represented. So I would still say to give you a try if you want. Next we have The Cat Who Saved Books by Sosuke Natsukawa, and this one was just so cute. It was just cozy, it was warm, it was perfect for people that love cats and books. We follow Rintaro. His grandfather has just passed away and he has inherited this bookstore. However, the bookstore is not doing great financially, so he's kind of struggling deciding what to do when a cat comes in and starts talking to him. So we have a talking cat, and with the conversations he has with the cat, I feel like we are getting into a tale similar to Sophie's World, where our main character is kind of exploring different themes about life, love, grief, a lot of different stuff. And the way that he processes things in this book and decides what to do next is about stories that involve books and by talking with a cat. So if you love cats and books, I say you should pick it up. Also, it has fantasy in it, if that is your jam. It's not like a thriller or a horror or anything like that, because this one is a book that I picked for a genre that I normally don't read, like out of my comfort zone, but it was just such a cute read. Now we're going to talk about a middle grade that I really enjoyed, and that is The Time Watchers by Robbie Miles. This is a self-published book that I found out on Instagram. I think Cameron Chaney from Library Macabre talked about it, and I decided to buy it and save it for spooky season. And that was a good choice because this one was a lot of fun. There's so many adventures and so many things that our main characters go through here that it was just so much fun to explore, to read, and it does take place in Halloween. So if you love to read books around Halloween season and you don't have this one yet, I encourage you to pick it up for next year. So we follow three characters, three kids that are best friends, and they are having a sleepover the night before Halloween, and they are having all the treats, and they are watching spooky movies and talking about spooky things, you know, the perfect sleepover. And basically they also tell the story about the Time Watcher, and then they go to sleep. And when they wake up, only two of them are in the room. One has disappeared. So the two remaining friends are gonna have to look for him, and they are going to enter kind of like another reality world, and all the things that they get to explore and do there, all the challenges, all the monsters, the witches, the things that they find, it's just absolutely fantastic. The author has so much imagination, and it was a treat to read this book, so I definitely recommend it to you guys. Now let's talk about a book that I've been meaning to read for some time, and I finally picked it up on November, and that is The Luminous Dead by Caitlin Starling. I love this book. It was just so intriguing. It was so full of tension. I needed to know what was going to happen next, and it was quite claustrophobic. So in this book we follow our main character, Gaia Price, and she is taking a job that is very dangerous in order to get enough money to make it off-world and try to find her mother. So this job is very dangerous. She has to go down into some caves to retrieve some sort of like mineral samples, and she has to dive deep underwater at some places as well. And she feels like she's going to have a lot more support, but honestly it's just her under there, completely isolated, and just one person that she has contact with on Earth. She's wearing this very special suit that she had to go through surgery in order to get the suit attached to her body, because the suit is going to allow her to kind of feed through it. It's going to take care of her other bodily functions. When she pees, her urine is going to be turned into water. So it is like a really heavy surgery that she has to go through before she can go underwater, under the caves. And also through this suit, she's going to be able to communicate with that person that it is on Earth. So that is what we learn at the very beginning, like the first chapter, so it's not like a spoiler or anything. And after that, it is such an amazing journey, because we're gonna see her exploring one cave, second cave. We're gonna see her in the dark, underwater, trying to question the things that she's seeing, trying to question the mission and what they want to achieve with it. And it was just such a fun time, because you keep on guessing what's going on. You never know what's going to be next, what's going to be in the next room, what's going to happen with the characters. I loved the relationship between the two women, the one in the caves and the one upstairs, kind of like talking to her through the communicator. it was just absolutely fantastic. If you're looking for a good sci-fi horror, I would definitely recommend you this one. And because I had a little bit of extra time this month, I decided to add a novella, and that is They Were Here Before Us by Eric LaRocca. You guys know I've enjoyed all his novellas before, so I was really excited to pick this one up. And what I can tell you is there is a lot in here that involves animals and insects, so keep that in mind, because for me it was hard to read at times because I do not like animal suffering, not even bugs suffering. So the first episode starts depicting bugs that are living in a deceased body, so that's all I'm gonna say. It's quite graphic when it comes to the body horror and things like that. If you've read anything else by Eric, you kind of know what to expect. And my favorite story actually featured mostly humans, and that was the last story. It's called When It's Dark Out, and that is my absolute favorite one from all of these, but I did enjoy all of them. So another one by Eric LaRocca that I can recommend. And last but definitely not least, we have Julia by Peter Straub, and this is a book that I picked up kind of spontaneously for a prompt, and I ended up really enjoying it. We are in 60s London, and Julia just lost her daughter, and she decides she doesn't want to be with her husband anymore. She decides she wants to be alone, and she buys a house for herself, moves out, and she is determined to just start a new life, leaving her past behind. But there's something else in that house. She doesn't know if it's the spirit, the ghost of her deceased daughter that is hunting her, if it is a previous owner of the house that maybe died and is now hunting her. She doesn't know if it's a human that is hunting her, because also her ex-husband was not happy that she left him. So we kind of follow Julia. She's trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together. Her heaters, she turned them off, and then like the next morning when she wakes up, the house is like super hot, the heaters are full on. She doesn't know how it happened. She thinks she sees things, hears things in the middle of the night, and so it's really intriguing, and I love to see how Julia changes as a character, and you as a reader are trying to figure out what is happening to her. Is she seeing all these things? Is she imagining things? So I really enjoyed kind of the guessing game that I had as a reader. This is a great atmospheric story. At times it might be a little bit outdated with the comments that are made or the things that are said about women, but in general I really enjoyed it, and it didn't like take away any of the fun. Now this book was written in 1971, so there is a huge time difference. I had a really good time with it. It was fast-paced, and I was like really invested in the mystery and trying to figure everything out. Some of the other characters that are in the book apart from Julia were also kind of in the gray area, so you never know if they were good or bad, and I really loved that as well. So I felt like it was such an interesting book about a haunting. Alright guys, so those are all the books that I managed to read in the month of November. Let me know down below what you thought, and as always, let me know what is the best book that you managed to read in November. If you joined the Evilathon, let me know if you completed 1 prompt, 2 prompts, if you had fun. Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you guys as always so much for watching, and hope to see you all in our next coffee time. Bye!